Hi Hugh, how you doing?
Hi, no bad. Right.
We're experiencing technical difficulties. I'm trying to add my mate
Right,
John,
sure, no problem. Is it
but
just you or are there two of you?
there's meant to be two of us. So
Right, sure.
that's the so I think we're talking at cross purposes. He's on Zoom and I'm on Teams, so I'm just trying to
Right.
quickly add him.
A few moments later.
You know how originally I
A
said Zoom
little
to you,
longer than a few
and I
Yeah.
minutes
originally
later.
said Zoom to John, and I thought him to when he said on Zoom.
I'm going to
A
That's
see
little
cool.
that
longer than a
new
few
Elvis
minutes
film
later.
at 10 to 9.
5 minutes later.
He doesn't turn up, we'll be
Sure.
fine.
I mean,
But
well, hopefully it can do in. So you enjoyed the Springsteen. I saw that film, the Springsteen film
what did
myself.
what did you think of it?
Well, if I'm honest with you, I hate to say this, I was slightly disappointed because I've
Yeah,
read the Springsteen book, which I enjoyed. And I thought it was going to be the story of his life, a bit one of those sort of bio films, I suppose it was trying to do something different,
yeah,
and of course it was concentrating on the album, I think it's because I was expecting to see sort of, I don't know, something a bit different. So it was. I mean, I wouldn't say that I disliked it, but I think I was a wee bit confused actually, because I suppose there's so many standard biopics, so you're sort of thinking it's going to.
yeah. That's kind of why I liked it though, is because you do get used to it's always the starts with the kind of childhood and the
Yeah,
whereas this was quite focused. It was just like on a. It's pretty niche though.
my sister's actually a really big Bruce Springsteen fan, so I went to see it with her, and
Uh-huh.
she really enjoyed it. Um, because I think she usually I know much more about music things than her, but Springsteen is sort of her favorite artist, so she actually knows her Springsteen. Kept thinking, oh, when are we going to see the rest of the band and stuff like that? Like it didn't feature other band members.
No, and I think as well that it's like they did that bit at the beginning, just so he could get like the rock for Springsteen.
Yeah,
Um, but I think that's kind of like the actual album. Like they were trying to make it
right,
like a
sure.
rock record, and that just got released fairly recently. The Electric Nebraska. It's terrible. It's like yeah, it's almost like the Street Band. I think maybe because he went away and did it on his own, they were I don't know, like reading between the lines a little bit. Oh, that's
Yeah,
his thing, and felt left out and didn't found it in a wee bit because it doesn't sound
yeah, sure.
that
Well,
great.
he obviously knows what he's doing, of course, and that's what he wanted to do. A more
Mhm.
acoustic sort of laid back album. I think because I read in the book, when he was doing Born to Run, he became obsessive. He just he was never
Yeah.
happy with it.
Yeah, I think he's got like and the river as well. Like he would like would never know when to say something's finished.
Yeah, yeah.
Like
So
it's
I think he was reacting against that. You
yeah.
know.
But it's interesting. Have you ever heard of like that weird duo Suicide?
Oh yeah,
Suicide.
I've seen Suicide twice in concert. I,
Apparently he's a
I,
big Suicide fan. It's
yeah,
weird,
well,
right?
I saw that um in the movie Suicide. But I remember again I saw Suicide at the Apollo supporting the Clash, and they more or less get booed off. But my pal actually had the album, so we sort of knew it, we enjoyed it, and then it was at the CCA, and it was about 15 years ago, and they got kind of the same reaction. But they were a good band, they were innovative.
Yeah. What was the one about John? Was
Johnny,
it Johnny
Johnny,
Teardrop?
yeah, Johnny Teardrop. It's generally disturbing. If you listen to
Yeah.
it in headphones.
And you can see Nebraska's actually quite disturbing.
But
It's dark. What's the recording that you're doing here?
you felt, is this being recorded by me? Or is
Yeah.
this what we're?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, but there's the label Last Night from Glasgow. A lot of people are on that label recently, like the Bluebells, China Crisis, a lot of different bands, and so our album is going to come out with them. I'm calling the album Savage Hospitality because I was reading, it was a book and it was letters that Robbie Burns had written, and he spoke about the savage hospitality of the Scots, which means, you have to go and get really drunk and have a hangover, and I thought some
Yeah.
things don't change. So I thought that was it. That's why I'm calling the album Savage Hospitality. So it's just taken a while, just like when I say it's taken a while, it's taken about 1.5 years, 2 years. It's just hard to get. I've got about 8 or 9 songs. I've just got another 4 or 5 songs, to record. So just working on them, and I'm doing 1 or 2 on Butte. See, at weekends, my main house is on Butte, so at weekends I head back to Butte.
And is that
So
opposite? Do you go to Larg? Is that from Largs to Butte?
at
Is
Weems
that how you
Bay,
get there? Weems Bay.
you go to Weems Bay, and then you take the boat. Takes about 40 minutes to Rossi. So
I saw your document, like some of your YouTube wee docs are really good. Like
well, yeah, that's right. I just during lockdown when I was on the island, you couldn't go off the island for 3 months. That's when I started making Hugh Reid's Beautiful Butte, So I enjoyed that,
And who was it that did the like? And I think I'd missed it before when I was looking at your YouTube. But there's that 3-part little doc. It's really good because it gives you a good. It's got all your kind of cool videos and TV appearances and a little narrative between it. It's really well done.
Well, see, that was a DVD that came out about 97, 98. My friend edited it. We called it "Carry On Up the Underpants." So I've put it up in 4 parts to YouTube. Yeah,
Yes, because it's pretty entertaining, like the Ken Livingston.
well, that was true. That was on Trial by Night, STV, and Ken Livingston was dancing to the pants. You know what I mean?
You ever seen that weird thing where Bobby Gillespie's on the Andrew O'Neill thing?
Yeah.
And they're trying to dance like Michael Portillo.
And you could just see that he was so.
Oh,
it's right though. It was the political class, He just obviously had disdain for them,
I think he was going on. Yeah, like they were all just quaffing champagne and stuff.
Yeah,
is what he said afterwards.
That's true. Yeah,
So when you're doing the live shows now, will there be quite a lot of the new material?
Well, as I say, some of them it's songs like Glasgow Girls, Turnips Tea Cakes, because the band, they haven't been out on a CD yet.
So the videos are good for those, though, aren't they?
I made the videos myself and edited them myself. A lot of them are tried and tested favorites. You'll know, you've seen the band a few times. But there is new songs. Like we've got a song, Jamaica Street. It's a wee bit like Sesame Street, I must say, but it's can you tell me how to get to Jamaica Street? We're still to get that recorded. We'll be playing that this Sunday, at the Clutha Vaults. So
I'm quite interested. I've never been to the Clutha, so that was like a wee bit of the appeal as well. I've always wanted to have a visit.
Well, you know that apparently Woody Guthrie appeared at the Clutha.
Wow.
Yeah, because it's a very old folk bar, I've got Crossroads from the Scotia, of course, and Billy Connolly used to appear there quite regularly, like in the 60s. But they say that, and the Clutha says it, so I believe that apparently, Woody Guthrie's boat was stopped in the Clyde. He definitely spent a night or 2 in Glasgow, and so they say that he wandered along to the Scotia and the Clutha and did a few songs, but of course he wasn't famous or anything,
And it's got like a socialist reputation as well. Like Clutha's like a kind of socialist hangout.
Yeah,
So it would
yeah,
make
that's
sense,
right.
wouldn't it? Like it'd be
Definitely.
where he would head.
And of course, very unfortunately, there was the terrible tragedy
Yeah.
that happened, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Y-
but it's always been a good bar. In fact, they've made it bigger now. You know, it used to be, I would say, almost exclusively a folk bar, but now it's a bit bigger, so it can accommodate bands.
Yeah.
You do live in Perth, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the Tams is where I think I've seen. In fact, is it just the Tams I've seen? I'm trying to think I've seen you anywhere else. I quite fancy going to that place in Paisley because I've got family in Paisley, and what's the place you play there? It's quite a good
Well,
venue.
we often play the Bungalow Bar in
That's
Paisley.
it, yeah.
Well, the Bungalow Bar, it's moved location, but it's a very historic. You know, Glasgow in the late 70s banned punk rock, famously banned punk rock. The Stranglers, Elvis Costello, the Revillos. Many people played the old Bungalow Bar,
Mhm.
and because they couldn't play Glasgow, so it's got quite a history.
And was that a noise thing, or was it a
They,
kind of
I mean, but what happened was, you know, punk rock came out, and I mean, I'm older than you, of course, and so I vaguely remember it. And then councillors went to see the Stranglers play. I think it was at the City Halls or something, and there was a riot. So the councillors decided that punk rock was banned from Glasgow. It was round about the same time they banned The Life of Brian, you know, the film The
yeah,
Life of Brian.
yeah?
So
So moral kind of panic.
yeah, you know, those moral councillors that never take any bribes to build motorways through the city
Yeah.
centre and stuff, you know, those moral guardians.
Clip redacted due to Cohen's mundane anecdote.
I think your gig. I'm trying to think what that gig I first went to, what year it was, but that was kind of like among like my friends that went to. It was quite kind of legendary because you would get like I loved live music, so I just go wherever was there.
Yeah.
And I just remember, like, I think it was Dog he did first, and you had a really long. They used to have a really long mic cable, and you'd run out into the
yes,
like the
probably,
street and
yes.
stuff. And I think I might have been quite drunk because, like, I remember saying you last time you had a disco dancing, like little person, and you're like,
Yes,
I saw him on that video. It's just a short guy.
There was a guy called Max. We called him the Red Road Rapper.
Yeah.
He lived in the Red Road Flats.
I remember telling everyone, I was like, there was a disco dancing little person, and there was like, and the quick change stuff was really good.
But one of the last times we played, I think you were there. There was a guy get thrown out. Did you see that?
I was looking for the video. I had that video up on something, and it's disappeared. Do you find? I was going to ask you that. Do you
Because
find?
I think you did a review of it or something.
Yeah,
it was quite funny.
That was hilarious, though.
Yeah,
because he was actually. I think the security didn't handle it very well because he was fine until they started.
When he had something to do with he was there to see
the support.
The other band.
Yeah,
you know.
It was a good crowd actually. They brought a lot of
they were quite Twin Towns, I think they were called. They were quite a crazy band.
Yeah. But I think when you do your kind of crazy stuff, I think do you find sometimes when folk are drunk they get a bit uninhibited too?
But what I find is it does trigger the nutters. It triggers the nutters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I know you do get surprising reactions and stuff at times, you know.
Yeah, and
I mean, I do it as an act, but I think some people think, well, they think that I genuinely am a crazy nutter, and then the crazy nutter reacts. He thinks, right, I'm going to get that crazy nutter, you know.
Well, do you know? I heard them speaking to the bouncers, and they're like, you need to kind of, you know, I can't remember if he was like dancing and elbowing people, and he was just generally just knocking people over. He's like, look at that guy, everybody bullying my boxer. So in his head, he's like, Like, no, but he's in the band. Like, that's
Well,
he's on stage. You're not on stage, you know.
well, another thing about the Twatams is one of the last times I was there, this girl came up to me. I mean, maybe you even know her, and she wanted a photo of me, and she was wearing the toilet seat round her head.
I've got that picture.
Yeah, and then it was because her mother, on Friday, unfortunately, her mother died.
Oh,
And one of her favourite photos of her mother is her mother after I put a toilet seat on her mother's head. You know what I mean? So she wanted something to commemorate that.
it's weird though that when I came before you guys went on stage, I went in the Thames and everything was just setting up before the support came on. And a really drunk girl came up and she's like, I found this. And I think someone's broken it off. And she thought someone had like peed on a toilet seat and left it in the corner. She handed it in behind the bar.
But see what actually happened was I'm on stage and I can't find my toilet seat, right? And then the girl came up to me and said she wanted her photo taken with the toilet seat. I goes, I don't know what's happened to my toilet seat. She was like, then after the gig was finished, bar staff came up to me and says, is this something to do with you? And they gave me the toilet seat because somebody had handed the toilet seat in.
Oh yeah.
You know.
I've got there's a picture of you, me, and that.
Yeah, because
girl,
you took the photo of me with this girl who'd wanted a photo with the toilet seat. You know,
that's a nice thing, though, isn't it? It's like
it is. No, it is nice. It is nice.
And it kind of feels like it could be a good like family show. I'd quite like to bring my brother. I've got a brother with autism, and I think he'd love like the show.
Well, I must say, you know, and I'm pleased about this. Kids like the band. You know, I look like we play Belgium, and there's a stage that we play, and it's great. You know, this will be the 4th year in a row we play it. But you know, it's like we play it at 3 PM, and I think the guy who puts on, he really likes us playing because nowadays it's families are going to festivals, you know.
Mhm.
So I get the kids with the water pistol and all that stuff, you know, and so I think it's quite good, you know, that kids like it. I mean, I see a lot of bands that don't put on a show, like Colonel Mustard. You know, he puts on a show, you know, and that I think that works really well.
I think John, who still hasn't figured out, okay, he sends his apologies by the way, but I think he's mentioned he's got a pal who knows some guys from Colonel Mustard. And how did you get like? See, something I wasn't sure. Like, I didn't ask you the last time because like whether you actually were a fan of Lou Reed.
Oh no, well,
where,
absolutely,
good.
definitely a fan of Lou Reed.
I was like, maybe you're just called Hugh Reed.
Well, people used to say, you know, are you a tribute band? I used to always say, no, we're an insult to Lou Reed. But no, see how the band, going way back, how it started was, it was a 60s psychedelic band, and I used to have 4 televisions on stage, and I had projections going on behind me, and a saucer, you know, dropping oil. My pal was dropping oil. So it started as a kind of a 60s tribute band, doing quite a lot of Velvet Underground songs. But no, I've seen Lou Reed in concert, and then I saw the Velvet Underground when they reformed, and then when we toured with Debbie Harry, which was the biggest thing we did, round about that time, there was an all-night special on Channel 4 about the Velvet Underground.
That. Yeah.
And Debbie Harry was you know, she was the host for it. So she was speaking quite a lot to Lou Reed. So she herself told me, oh, I was telling Lou we're touring with Hugh and all that, you know. So that was good. And I've met John Cale. The story I tell about John Cale, and this is actually true. You know, he was signing his book in Sucky Hall Street, you know, like the bookshop in Sucky Hall Street. So I went in and I'm standing in the big queue. So when I got to the end of the queue, I gave him a copy of our album, Take a Walk on the Clydeside, which has an open banana, you know.
Yeah.
And so I gave it to John Cale, and then on he opened up the book, he looked at it and he sort of laughed and we spoke a wee bit. And in the book he wrote, "Do not steal." So John Cale, which I think he was meaning don't steal ideas, but I was kind of shell shocked because I just met him. And without thinking, I walked right past the till and went out on the St. Wall Street. So I think this is so cool. I've got this book signed by John Cale, "Do Not Steal," and I stole it, you know?
Power of suggestion, though. It's like reverse psychology.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And did Debbie Harry tell, like, the reason I was thinking about Lou Reed is I went down a Lou Reed rabbit hole recently because I've always liked the Velvet Underground, and I had a couple of Lou's solo albums. And I think, you know, that thing in Trainspot, and there's the kind of like, you got a bit, you know, sick boys, like, oh, it's not as good as the Velvet Underground. But I was like, I actually read this really good biography, and I just discovered a lot of his stuff. And some of it's like, just so different. And when he starts playing the guitar again, and, you know, and the band he had in the 80s were really good.
Yeah, no, I mean, Lou Reed, he recorded so much great stuff. Of course, you know, Transformer, 100% classic. But even on the albums that are a bit like the 80s albums, you always find one or two good tracks on them, you know?
Yeah, they're interesting.
Yeah.
You know?
And no, I mean, he was although he what, like when I saw him play at the Playhouse in Edinburgh, it was a bit weird. People weren't allowed to. It was like being at church. You know, people weren't allowed to go out their seats and all that. Only in between songs they could go out their seats and all that. You know.
That's not very punk, is it? Reading the book, he's an interesting. It's just such an asshole, but like an entertainer.
Like,
the stories are amazing, you know. Yeah.
But we'll see again. That time it was Regular Music put him on at the Playhouse, and I gave a guy from Regular Music, you know, our CD and all that to present to Lou Reed, and they gave it to him, and apparently he just looked at it and just put it away like that. I think he looked at it in disgust, you know.
Yeah.
But they said that the atmosphere in the room, he said that this was the guy from Regular Music. They said it wasn't friendly at all. He wasn't a friendly guy.
You know.
No, but I've heard he used to have fights with David Bowie, like physical fights, you know. And David Bowie almost seemed like such a mild-mannered guy, you know.
Yeah, apparently it was like in a hotel room, and like he came, and I think they were meant to be recording something. He said, "Oh, you know, go away," and Bowie just literally lamped him.
Yeah. So, but as I say, you know, there's no doubt that he was a great artist, you know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, so maybe a pod in the future, Hugh, if you're up for it, we could do a deep dive on Lou Reed, or do an album or something, discuss it.
Oh, absolutely. Definitely.
He's definitely, and the whole John Cale thing's kind of fascinating. And the Andy Warhol, it's just there's so much. And
see, I feel like
everything.
A lot of times people, when they think about the Velvet Underground, they always think about Lou Reed, but John Cale, I would say, you know, I know he did leave the band, but he was like 50% of it, you know.
He's that weird, like the Phineas and Ferb is very much like the sound of that is.
Yeah, I mean, like John Cale had studied the avant-garde composers and all that, and then he brought that into the Velvet Underground. Remember that thing about the album? You know, they look at a famous album, and it was one about Transformer, and then you realise so much was done by David Bowie. You know,
he was like in like Svengali in those days. Like he was getting all those heroes. Like I think he had a more successful relationship with Iggy Pop, you know, and really kind of saved his life and everything, and you know, kind of nurtured them and Mort the Hoople. It just sounds like Bowie, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's right. You know, I even enjoy Lulu's version of "The Man Who Sold the World." You know,
I don't know if you've heard that.
Have you not?
I have to check out.
It was the first recorded version, and the whole backing band is you know, Mick Ronson and so on. And then the flip side of the Lulu one is Watch That Man, you know. But they were, as far as I understand, they were both recorded before David Bowie recorded them. And then David Bowie, I saw an interview with David Bowie, and he says, I'm really proud that I've written a hit for both, a song that was a hit for both Lulu and Kurt Cobain, you know.
That's a good claim of fame. And
Yeah.
I saw Sanjeev Kohli in your Facebook feed, and that was kind of interesting
Well,
to see.
I've known Sanjeev for years. I mean, I knew Sanjeev before he was famous. Sanjeev, he used to co-present a program. It's a long story. I had a Chinese girlfriend, and her sister was a co-presenter of this program called Ghetto Blasting, and he can't even believe that a program was called that. It used to be on Radio Scotland in the 90s, late at night. Basically, they shoved all the ethnics together, you know, for about an hour, like on a Friday night on BBC Scotland, and Sanjeev was the co-presenter. So that's how I got to know Sanjeev. But Sanjeev played 2 or 3 gigs, keyboard in the pants, you know. But he had a sort of everything. He played everything in C. He just transposed the key and played it in C. I always say that I sing in the key of Yale and all that stuff. You know what I mean? But
and when you were kind of doing the gigs in the early days, was there a lot of what kind of bands were going around about the same time? Did you tour with The Fall? If I heard that, speaking of
we
prickly
did.
frontmen.
Yeah, we did 3 gigs with The Fall, and we had a mad manager at the time, and he's, I don't know how, but somehow or other, he got Marky Smith got our CD, and there was, you know, Carnicked. You'll know the song Carnicked, of course. Yeah. So Marky Smith loved it, and apparently on the tour bus he put it on repeat. Carnicked apparently was on repeat for over 2 hours, right? But I was told that by one of the guys in The Fall, you know. He says, and then Marky Smith see, I'm very proud of this. Marky Smith famously hated every band.
He did. He hated his own band.
Yeah, well, that's it. Because I met a guy that used to manage Delamitri, and apparently Delamitri supported The Fall, and then they were meant to be taking their equipment and all that, and after he saw Delamitri, he told them all to F off, and they'd have to transport their own equipment and all that, right? And I was saying, well, Marky Smith loved us, and then Marky Smith, it's still on the internet. He was asked what band he liked, and bizarrely he said Orange Juice and Hugh and Velvet Underpants. So I was pleased about that, but we did.
He lived in Leith though, didn't he, for a while?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
which is kind of an odd thing to think.
I mean, I was speaking to one of the members of The Fall, you know, and it was kind of like stating the obvious. It must be a bit difficult, you know, working with Mark. And then he told me this story that he had like a 4-year-old daughter, and he was driving to rehearsal, but he was leaving his daughter, you know, off at the nursery, but he picked up Marky Smith, and he'd left the passenger seat empty, so he thought Marky Smith would sit in there, but oh no, Marky Smith goes in and sits beside his 4-year-old daughter. So he says, oh, this is my daughter Maria or something, and Marky Smith was taking that cigarette, and he took a big puff of the cigarette and went, I'm your evil Uncle Mark. And and just expelled all the smoke all over her. And she immediately burst into tears. So that's an example of behaviour from Marky Smith, you know.
But he's another one that's like his autobiography is one of the best music books ever. It's just so funny. He's really funny. And
did you ever see The Fall live at all?
No, unfortunately not. He did a song with Edwyn Collins, actually, weirdly. You know how he said,
Well, maybe that's why he mentioned. I was surprised
Yeah,
that he mentioned
it's called. It was like a
Porn
weird
Stu's.
disco kind of thing. It's brilliant, but
I'll need to search that out. Um, he did a ballad about Edinburgh, which was actually really good. You know,
he's got so
um,
much stuff. Like I had the Peel sessions, like every Peel session
really.
recording, and it's like about 4 days long. Like because Peel
Well,
loved them.
well, you know, when he was on stage, he would go over and just mess about, like with the guitarist's amp and the bass player's amp, turn things up, change the tone. You know, things you would never normally get away with.
He hates the guy from the bass player that went on to be on
Is it
radio.
Mark Riley? Mark
Yeah, and
Riley.
just like
Yeah.
it's just so much abuse. That book, like half of it is just him like going on about how much he hates him. I said it must be an uncomfortable read for him. I was like, oh,
But there again, people, it's just like Lou Reed. There is the element that the guy's also a tosser. You know what I mean? You know,
yeah. And he
but
was
but 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 maybe some tossers make good music. You know what I mean? Like Irvin Welsh, she likes the pants as well. You know,
yeah,
so a lot of times I'm like you're trying to get. I remember I was living in Beijing and I'm trying to get into the local wee magazine, and there was an American guy. And I'd be sending me emails. I met him a couple of times and all that, and he never did anything. And I saw him in a bar. A fella going up to him and say, "Look, you cunt. Everyone else likes us. You're just what the
yeah,
fuck do you
yeah.
know?" Yeah. But I didn't say that. But it was what was going through my mind. You know what I mean?
You're in good company. He's did he not he did something with Mogwai, didn't he? Like some sort of spoken word thing, I'm sure. Or am I
Yeah. He's done. I think he even did something with Primal Scream, did he?
right?
Or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, that's one of the things I love about Glasgow is like particularly the kind of music I like. You can late 90s, you could go to like Nice and Sleazy's, and it's like the equivalent of somewhere in when you go somewhere in Hollywood and all the stars are out. And it was like Stuart Braithwaite, guy from BMX Bandits.
Well,
You know,
as I said, I don't want to be sort of name dropping, but when I was in Beijing, the Mogwai came to Beijing, and I knew this Chinese journalist. He was a music journalist, and his English was great, but he was afraid that he couldn't understand the Scottish accent, so he contacted me. So I went along, and with him, we interviewed Mogwai for the Chinese Q magazine.
oh, right, cool.
So that was cool, and it was really nice. I'd met them sort of very, very briefly before, but it was really nice just talking to them in Beijing.
They're pretty normal, though, aren't they, Mogwai? They seem
Oh,
quite,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
They have like Glasgow, like quite a like collaborative. You get that impression because you always seem to have like folk playing on each other's albums and you know
Well, actually, I mean, I haven't found
swapping
Glasgow.
band. Yeah,
You know, um, I found it generally collaborative. Of course, I must admit there was certain bands that we hated,
going
like
the shit.
Nexus, Hugh and Cry, all that type
Yeah,
of thing. You know,
yeah.
but we didn't have any contact with them. It wasn't as if they were hanging about the 13th note. You know what I mean?
No,
Or Nice and Sleazy.
but so for the Cliffer, what time are you guys on at the
Well,
Cliffer?
8 o'clock. It's free. I
Cool.
always say it's free to get in, but you have to pay to get out. No, it's free to get in. By the way, if I say so myself, I think it'll be packed. I think it'll be a really good.
I think I'll be packed as well. We're going to get there early and
Expect mayhem, because I
yeah.
remember there was a wee kind of Facebook review, and the guy goes, Hugh Reed came out in his boxing gloves and he immediately spilled my pint. He says, on the plus side though, I managed to catch a Tunnocks tea cake later on.
Have you got more props as you've like gone on as you get new songs?
Well, I'll be doing it at the Clutha.
Mm.
I've got a prop that I make my head disappear. So my head will be disappearing,
There was a gig I went in Perth, and the first time I think my mate Paul was there, and you were sizing him up for some sort of like there was some sort of thing where he was to dress as you, and then
Well, yeah, there's a black bag trick. that's what I do nowadays. The black bag trick. So you, you might find yourself
I'm
roped into
giving it
that.
away. Sorry. We'll cut that out. But yeah, but it's like, yeah. So anyone that's watching this that hasn't seen Hugh, it's definitely, if they're in
Well,
Glasgow,
I like
come
to
along.
try and come up with new ideas and put on a show, But as I say, things don't change too much. But I do try and think about new things,
Yeah, and it must be kind of hard work, eh? Like, because you get a good workout.
But I can tell you, I mean, I've got my bus pass now. I won't start going into the exact age I am,
Yeah.
but I do have my bus pass. But it, it- yeah, it can be quite tiring. But as I say, I enjoy it, and I find myself when I'm on stage, like for example, we were up in Belgium, and it's quite a high stage. And then before you go on, I say to myself, whatever happens, do not jump off that stage. Do not jump off that stage. And you're about 4 minutes into the gig, you just jump straight off the stage, drop down about 12 foot or something.
James.
But it's just because you go into this sort of, well, I go into this kind of hyper sort of mode. But I enjoy it. It's fun. I hope it's fun. I
It's
want it to be
definitely
fun for everyone.
Yeah, it's one of these things. I think is because you put a lot out, you get a lot. You definitely folk respond to it. Perths are pretty. I would say Perths are pretty muted audience usually. So
Well, as I say, we've always enjoyed the Twatams. I remember I had a covers band called the Punk Priests,
Mhm.
and we played Twatams. And I always remember that was a brilliant gig. This was again in the 90s. I would come out dressed as a bishop, and the band were dressed as priests. And I used to do we did the Injury, Sex and Drugs and Rock and Roll, and I was on a lectern as if I was giving a sermon, about sex
Yeah.
and drugs and rock and roll. But what I remember is jumping off the stage, and I think it was some student night out, and about 4 or 5 guys all jumped on top of me. And the guitarist was always going about how my timing was always out, but he said there was this mound of bodies, and I was under the mound. And he says for the only time that he'd ever known, I got it timing perfect, not perfect under this mound of bodies. And that was in the Twatams,
And just a quick shout out. I know you're gonna have to go soon, but for what festivals have you got coming up? What other live shows so we can check you out?
We're playing, Belgium, doing the Rabbit Hole. There's a Viking festival in Largs. There's some Paisley Arts Festival, but I'm excited that we're there. I don't know if you've heard about that big punk festival called Rebellion in
No, I haven't.
Blackpool. Oh, that's, by the way, that's definitely worth it. But so everybody, check the website.
When's it on?
August, late
Yeah.
August, and just about everybody appears in the one place. Like last year, I saw Pill, I saw the Undertones, I saw Hugh Cornwall, and the Damned, and it's just in this sort of the Winters Gardens in Blackpool. So it's just so amazing. One theatre there's the Damned, and there's John Lydon over there, But we're on the periphery of it. There's bars that are on the periphery. So
That'd be a good. Yeah, we might. Not been at Blackpool since God, my early
honestly,
20s.
It's a brilliant weekend, and then we're just playing. There's a bar called Rhythm and Brews. So in fact, we're playing there in about a month's time, but we're playing there again in August, and then we're playing with the Alex Harvey tribute band in Gala Shields, the Mac Arts Centre. So.
And where's the thing in View? Is that? Did you say that beat or is that coming?
It's the Glenmore Bowling Club. That's going to be on a Sunday afternoon. That lets people come from Glasgow. The last boat from Butte's 8:00 in the evening. So it'll be in the afternoon, and we're playing with Becky Wallace. I don't know if you've heard of Becky Wallace.
No,
yeah, she's a singer-songwriter.
Cool.
She's married to Darren McGarvey. Do you know Darren McGarvey, who does those class documentaries on BBC Scotland?
That rings a bell, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. So and then Dunoon Borough Hall. There's a few.
I didn't the Rabbit Hole might be a goer because I've always fancied. That's usually got a pretty good lineup as well, hasn't it?
Yeah, but we're on at the very end. As I say,
Yeah.
we're not usually on the main stage. They usually tuck us away in the corner, but you know, it's it's good to get out there, you know.
And we'll I'm looking forward to the new album when it hits as well.
Yeah, I know. I feel bad because it's just taken so long. It should have been out a year ago, you know. I'm just trying to get the songs finished off, but we'll get there, you know.
And a plug for your merch as well, because I'm going to treat myself to a t-shirt. Because as you said when you were talking about like meeting John Cale, the Walk on the Clydeside logo is pretty cool. So if you they're still available, I take it.
Yeah, you buy them online. It's sold through T-Shirt Nation, but
Right.
if you search it, because they just send it out direct, you know.
Cool. Yeah, they're pretty cool.
And obviously, you know, whenever this is going up, just send me the link and
yeah, absolutely. I'll give you.
yeah.
I mean,
I'll get it on all the different, you know, Facebook, etc.
What I'll probably do is, seeing as it probably wait until me and John have been to the gig and do a wee review after it.
Yeah, excellent. No, your
stick
reviews are
out.
always really good. I mean, feel free to give us a bad review as well. You know, don't worry.
I think I can't see what you would have to do.
But I think the Clutha will be good because
you know,
the Clutha, I'll tell you, the stage is very small, so there's a lot of room for chaos. You know.
yeah, that's what I like. Like these kind of gigs, are like it's going to be great fun. And if anyone is watching this and any of the upcoming gigs that Hugh's talked about, if you haven't seen them before, definitely check them out because it's.
But Colin, thanks for your support over
That's
the
all right.
years. You know, you have given us a bit of support over the years, and I appreciate it.
I've like genuinely like it started when I was like writing about like hand on heart, like all the gigs. Like that was a very memorable gig for me. That Twat Arms gig, you know.
Sure.
You know, it was a great
but
gig.
you'll probably end up being famous for having bad taste. You know what I mean?
Well, Marky Smith, was it Marky
Yeah.
Smith? Edwin, no, so it's Edwin Collins Felix, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Irvin Welsh. That's I can be in that company.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Well, you
Okay,
what you
all
up
right,
to
so
again?
I'll
You're
see
up to see
you
Elvis.
Sunday, Colin.
No problem. See you then, man. Take care.
Okay,
Take it
right.
easy.
Cheers then.